Hello, my name is Youngji Jo from Georgia Institute of Technology. Today, I'd like to talk about an enhanced interaction between Kuroshio extinction and tropical Pacific in a changing climate. This work is collaborative with the University of Miami. In previous publication, we proposed an extratropical coupled Ka system to explain the preferred decadal peak of Ke, which corresponds to 10-year timescale. That is, while the Ke oscillate within the North Pacific, there might be additional pathway through the tropics because we found that the Ke atmospheric downstream response can trigger the atmospheric forcing of Pacific Meridian modes and Central Pacific ENSO through subtropical thermodynamic feedback. The major evidence came from the lead-like correlation between the Ke and the Pacific Meridian mode or Central Pacific ENSO, which shows a sinusoidal shape function with significant recurring peaks among different lead-like months. And this tells us that the Ke and the Central Pacific ENSO have been acting like a trigger of each other, and the 10-year interval peaks, as shown here, implies that their decadal interaction might be linked to the preferred decadal timescale of Ke. And another important evidence came from the Ke as the progression maps. When we compute the spatial correlation between the K index and lagged SST anomalies, we could see that the Ke signal from the western boundary become to a large-scale variability resembling the PMM and the Central Pacific ENSO. Even though the climate model we used in this study was not a retrospective simulation, but just a free coupled run, the observed interaction between two regions were clearly detected in the numerical simulation too. More importantly, this coupling seems to have been enhanced over time. We can see that during recent period after 1985, the KESS progression to the mature phase of PMM and the Central Pacific ENSO is much clearly represented with larger amplitude than that of the earlier period. And you can see this change better when we compare the lead-like correlation between the Ke and the Central Pacific ENSO for each two period, because while during the period 1, their correlation is a bit noisy and below zero point 0.4, but in the recent period, both observation and climate model show a higher correlation with stronger decadal swings. So our question was whether the Ke system and its interaction with the tropics are non-stationary. And also we wonder whether this difference is statistically significant or a just matter of a chance. So to do a significance test, we built linear inverse model LIN and provide large number ensemble of LIN dataset using observational and climate models for each period. And these are what we get when we compute the same little correlation of reconstructed Ke and the Central Pacific ENSO indices from Lim ensemble set. Following the observed and simulated curve, their lead-like correlation as shown in this spread has changed from relatively weaker one to the clear sinusoidal shaped with higher correlation, reaching 0.6 in the recent period. And we found their statistics have changed because probability density function of their lead-like correlations were different. The recent period, the red color, is showing a fat tail distribution in the line from the original and the bars from reconstructed field both. The higher frequency and higher correlation between Ke and the Central Pacific ENSO indices tell us that the Ke variability is non-stationary and the extratropical and tropical coupled Ke system has been increasing. And we propose that this enhanced coupling might be linked to the changes in atmospheric response to Ke, because both in observation and high-resolution model, we found that the Ke downstream curve response has shifted toward the pole, showing the stronger wind stress forcing over the subtropical region, especially in the recent period. And when we extracted this time series associated with this wind forcing and projected this onto the SST anomalies, we found there is Pacific Meridian mode signatures, which means ENSO favorable condition. So as the remaining questions and ongoing research, we are trying to understand what causes the non-stationary Ke variability and also keep trying to figure out how and how much the background mean state and the external forcing independently or jointly affect the North Pacific decadal variability. Thank you.